Since we had our HMI inspector visit, our focus has been on one thing for a half term, and this half term has been looking at giving timely and meaningful feedback, and that's been embraced by the whole staff and the children, which is absolutely fantastic. So again, we've been using Shirley Clarke's principles, and we've been doing our green pen, the children been up levelling. But what's been really important is that whole school focus has been on that one thing.
I'm going to talk about green pen. There are two types of green penning: teacher green penning and peer assessment. The teacher looks at the LO and it gives us specific feedback for us to improve our work. Student peer assessment is where we have green penning like partners, and book on top of each other, and we mark and talk about the parts that we want to improve.
So we've been developing the effective marking and feedback for quite a while, but it has been really useful having this as a focus for this half term in particular. We started off with this half term with some staff meetings, and we have been using the Shirley Clarke principles to help guide us with the development. We've really had a focus on peer and self-assessment, and we've been helping the children to really understand the effectiveness of peer and self-assessment and developing ways for them to try and support each other with their learning, as well as reflecting upon their own learning, which has been really good.
This half term, we've been encouraged to be reflective in our learning. For example, in English, we pause for a minute to review our work and up-level with green pen, so that we achieve our learning objective. The teacher gives us feedback during the lesson time to avoid misconceptions, so we fully understand the task. We use class visualisers to share good examples of work within the class.
We also, using the Shirley Clarke principles, had a revision of our marking policy, because we wanted to make sure that what we actually were doing for the children was for them to make the best progress that they could in terms of the feedback that we were providing. So we spent some time looking at the original marking policy and thinking about some of the symbols that perhaps we could use with the children, for example VF for verbal feedback, and thinking about other ways that we could support the children within the lessons. Very much more now we are focused on getting around the children within the time that we've got, and providing sort of prompt feedback and being able to clarify and any misconceptions that have occurred, and being able to have mini plenaries and stop at appropriate times so that we can ensure that the best possible progress is made.
Our own questions provide starting points to help our teachers plan future lessons. Our partners assess our work as well, so it's not just our teachers. In the staff room, teachers have made a board on feedback from throughout the school.
What's been really great having the working wall in the staff room means that teachers have been given the green light, if you like, to try their own ideas. And what's been great, having walked around today, we've got teachers who are trialling things that aren't in the book, that they've got from elsewhere, and they're excited themselves about how they can improve.
Okay, so at the moment I'm studying for a Masters in Education, and I'm carrying out an action research project in my own classroom, looking at how I can develop the children so that they become, and they take more ownership over their feedback that they're given, but also to develop their role so that they are more active in that process, so they give themselves feedback and also their peers feedback. They also wanted to have these little learning logs, which they write in on a weekly basis, or just whenever they want. So they have them in a little pack along with their target cards on their desk when they're working, and then they can either leave little bits of feedback to me, so saying I'm still not confident with this area, could we look at this, or just it's a space for them to reflect on what kind of learner they've been during the week and what they want to do in the following week. And then the other main theme that came out of all of the interviews and the discussions with the children was that although they had lots of ideas for the feedback that they wanted to give themselves or to their partners, they didn't actually have the language to be able to do it, and they said, oh well, I kind of know what I want to say to her, but I don't really know how to say it. So we've developed, in line with Hattie and Timperley's 4 levels of feedback, we've developed our own little sentence starter key rings that they always have out with them. So even if it's oral feedback or written feedback, they can just pick them up and they can say, I like how you used similes in this poem, you still need to include or think about punctuation. So they've always got that language there, and each kind of few weeks. So we're doing it in a cycle, so we're then building up the types of feedback that we've given. So we started with task level feedback, we've been moving on to process feedback, and then we'll go into self-feedback and self-regulation over the next kind of 6 weeks. And you're now going to see examples of how that's working in my classroom.
I am going to talk to you about being inspired to work at home. We have been encouraged by our own work to write at home. For instance, we have been writing a story from a model called The Caravan. People in Nederpan have been writing a story from our model. It's like from other classes, and we have been giving them feedback and putting it in our own work. Some people are writing about a boat, a car, and a museum. Our teachers are pleased just like our own.
In our recent open morning in the library, we collected parents' feedback from the book festival. As you can see, we got lots of feedback. As a result of the comments, we now have ERIC time, which stands for Everyone Reading in Class, first thing Monday in Key Stage 1, so that parents can join in and they love it.
We're giving certificates within our Superstar Award system, whether we're talking in a staff meeting about geography or community values, where everything is going back to does that relate to feedback. So it's given it a huge focus in our staff room. We've got our working wall, we've got evidence up in the hall of children's work where it's had a really good impact. So as a whole school, that's been our driving factor. And actually what we did at the start of the half term, we had a learning walk, myself and the deputy. We went through the whole school from nursery through to year 6, and obviously there was evidence of feedback because that's what we've been focusing on the whole year anyway. But then at the end of this term, we've just today in fact had another learning walk, and the progress in the children's delivery of feedback is just phenomenal. The fact that they're using technical language instead of the "I like this, it would be better if you did this." They're just being so more specific, and all of their dialogue and their talk partners is just really focused. They're using the language correctly, they're wanting to do well. Obviously what we need to do now is to make sure that that keeps going through even as we work on our next focus for next year, for next term. But yeah, it's just been really powerful.